In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Sometimes a sort of unpleasant thing happens to someone. Someone who is either our loved one, our friend, or our acquaintance. And now we have to say, we want to say something to those people. And the purpose of saying something is that we let them know that I am their well wisher, that I have been become upset because because of them, because of this incident which happened to them. So I we actually wanted to share their grief. We wanted to share their grief, and that's why we find it somewhat necessary to say something. Usually we say something which enhances their pain, their grief, instead of reducing it. Usually we say something which enhances their grief instead of reducing it. Why does this happen? It does happen only because we said something which was based on ignorance and foolishness. Rather, I shall say, we said something which was not so positive, not so positive in nature, rather, it was something which was quite negative. We had said something which was not positive, rather, it was negative. We said something negative. Why did we say something negative? Obviously, because of ignorance. Obviously, because our own thinking is not that much positive, and the kind of communication which is going on between we ourselves, the kind of communication we are making with ourselves, that too is not something positive at all. Usually, it is negative. Once we say something negative, once we are found communicating negatively, one sort of negative thoughts keep rotating inside our mind. This means that our thinking is negative. We don't control our negative thoughts. We don't control our negative thoughts. Once we fail to control our negative thoughts, it actually means that our thinking has negative thinking has dominated us. This domination of the negative thinking is damaging us a lot actually. And once we find an opportunity to say something to someone else, a loved one, a friend or acquaintance, we utter the same sort of words which are not positive in nature. So, since these are not positive in nature, so that is why their trouble gets enhanced instead of get reducing it. It is not any way which is less than sprinkling salt on their wounds. The only difference is that here we are being called, That's their friend and their acquaintees, and not their enemies. We are not their enemies. They don't consider us their enemy. We don't consider them as our enemy. Still, we are found saying the something which is actually enhancing their pain, their trouble, and that is something. I think it was far better to remain quiet and not to say something at all. But if at all we had to say something, we should have given it a thought. There is a word of there is a proverb. There is a proverb of Urdu which translates as that a wise enemy is better than a foolish friend. A wise enemy is better than a foolish friend. Here, actually, we are acting as a foolish friend. We don't know what is good for them, what is bad for them. If at all any sort of compensation is possible for them, we should talk to them. If there is something practicable, if something doable, due to which their loss can be compensated upon. Otherwise, if it is not possible, or we don't have something, excuse me, or we don't have something like that in our mind, then it is better to say something which is encouraging and which rather says and communicates that okay, your problem can be compensated, you will be getting normal inshallah. It is not a big trouble, it is not a big pain, and you are a very wise, intelligent and a strong human being, and it is not, you are not the first time it happened to you, so that they should feel strong and their trouble should look smaller. Their trouble and pain should look smaller, and they should look bigger and stronger and wiser and intelligent. And this is how we need to communicate with them actually. So instead of presenting their problem in such a manner that the problem is unsolvable on the one hand, and it is like, never ever tell them, never ever communicate in one way or the other that the trouble which happened to them, it is quite a devastating one, and this is actually as big as that it can destroy their life. Never ever communicate something like this one. And also there is another thing. Sometime we are talking to our friend and our loved one and our acquaintance in quite a negative manner. Quite a negativity mean, if at all, a very small problem has occurred to them. So instead of telling them and instructing them and advising them to ignore, because asking them to ignore the smaller, the trivial things in the life, the trivial troubles and problems in the life, I think it was something really good and great, because after all that is the only solution. But the people are found the things like this one to their loved ones, like something very, that they people are very bad, very bad, they are very destructive, they are a big evil, they are a monster. Oh yeah, don't say something like this one. Don't say something. You are actually enhancing the anger already, which might be already there in the mind. Why are you enhancing the anger which is already there? Why are you trying to stoke? Never ever stoke it actually. Never ever add fuel to the fire. Never ever add fuel to the fire, because doing this is, it is not a constructive activity at all. Rather, it is something quite destructive, and we must avoid it actually. Be very wise while commenting upon the problem of someone else. Be very wise while commenting upon the trouble of someone else, if at all, because a foolish friend is not something admirable. A foolish friend is something, not something admirable at all. Rather, a wise enemy is better than a foolish friend. Thank you.